Women of Reddit, what was your best most exciting sexual experience? Best of Reddit, daily new uploads. Subscribe and like for more. Just do it. The first time I had sex with my now ex-fiancé, it's not an exciting story, it's just that the previous boyfriend, to whom I'd given my virginity, was absolutely horrible to me. I was shit scared of him, which led to being tense, and when we did have sex he didn't really care if he was hurting me or not. So when me and ex-fiancé first did it, I was like, wow, I don't know what Redacted was doing but it was not this. Whoa, I don't know what Redacted was doing but it was not this. Sex with a sip is rarely worth it, just ask Dr. Bright. The guy I'm seeing now is amazing in bed. I've been with a few guys before and sex was, well, this guy now is a drummer, so he has stamina, strength, rhythm and dexterity. He's also the warmest and most genuinely caring guys I've ever met. He just seems to understand my very soul. He takes as much time as he needs and gave me the most mind-blowing orgasm I've ever had. Toy and vibrators included. Last week with just his hands. We're just FWB right now. I have my life goals sorted out and I'm working towards them. He's still figuring it out. But it's rough. He's honestly my best friend and I would much rather lose the sex than his friendship. But I'm also, well, I'm madly in love with him. I can't tell him yet, because I want him to decide his life goals for himself without any pressure from me. But, if I was religious, I'd be praying a dozen times a day for things to work out between us. I'm the kind of person who only hooks up with people I've hooked up with before cause I'm too shy to meet new people. I never had a one-night stand before. I have nothing against them but I've always been kind of prude. And X200B. I had just gotten out of a LTR spanning nearly 7 years and I downloaded Tinder. I matched with someone nearly 22 years older than me and he invited me out for drinks that same night. I decided to be very brave and just went for it and I'm so glad I did. He ended up actually being this beautiful, silver fox humanitarian lawyer who just flew back stateside. He kept complimenting how beautiful and witty I was, which I really needed considering my self-esteem was completely in the gutter at this point. We met up in Midtown, and after a few drinks he asked if I wanted to see the view from his apartment. Internally, I said fuck it and walked 2 blocks away to his skyrise apartment which overlooked NYC and was so pretentious it even had its own Equinox in it. The view was lovely, but the sex was even better. I felt so attractive at that point and I hadn't felt that way in such a long time. And X200B. We exchanged numbers. He reached out to do it all again. But I was happy with my standalone experience that helped me get my mojo back. Read LTR as Lord of the Rings for some reason. Kinda threw me off at first. I had just gotten out of a Lord of the Rings spanning nearly 7 years. He didn't convince me to do anything I didn't want to do. That's the whole reason it was exciting. And why I'm posting in the thread. Don't bother, there's a reason why there aren't many real responses in threads like this. It's because telling honest stories just drags out all the angsty incels who insist they would have treated you like a princess etc. There's no reasoning with them. Convinces them to have sex by excessively flattering them. If that worked Redditors would be getting laid like rock stars. Makes you feel better to believe they're all emotionally vulnerable victims. Maybe they just like to fuck attractive successful men. It's not unheard of. What does Equinox mean in this context? It's one of the more expensive gyms in the US. Some cheaper locations charge at least $200 a month. Oh, I was thinking this dude had a car in his apartment and shit. Best, with a BF on shrooms. Most exciting, threesome with a B person. If you are enjoying the video, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of my new videos. How do you even have sex on shrooms? That is a question that is only asked by a person that has never had an orgasm on mushrooms. If you can remember it once, you'll remember every time afterward. The last time I did shrooms, I wasn't dating anyone, so I took a shower and beat my dick like it owed me money. Truth. Seeing your own orgasm as multicolored visuals is an interesting experience indeed. I've had no trouble with that. You just start slow, enjoying making out and when you least expect it, it's happening. When you least expect it, it's happening. Sex. Or the Spanish Inquisition? Yes. My former boss and his wife are polyamorous. 14 Y of marriage, At some point they invited me to drinks and get to know me. It is a unique moment being penetrated while receiving oral sex. Best orgasm of my life. Oh, almost 2 years later and I'm still with them and still great. Reminded me of House of Cards. 3 Jim. Thanks, I hate it. How did the evening unfold? They were looking for someone, and I was just there. Started to going out more with them, spending the night, taking care of their kid. They took care of me when I was sick. It is really nice and stress-free, but I click more with her. What the fuck? Is this a new thing? Sex parents? You haven't been on Pornhub lately because that's all that's left. I recently ended a 1.5 year long hookup with this cop I met through my job. It was so exciting because from the very beginning there was never any awkwardness between us or anything. We were just totally comfortable from the start, and it was so fucking hot. And OMG eye contact through the whole goddamn thing. Every time. I still don't think anything could top the first time we got together when he came to see me before he had to go to work, so was in full uniform, and the second he was in the door he had me up against the wall, kissing me. Taking his uniform off was so hot, because I was wearing a flimsy tank top and he was able to fondle me, while I was forced to unhook all this shit to get at him. The anticipation was insane. Face with heart-shaped eyes. Wow, I'm a straight guy and I think I actually understand the man in uniform fetish after reading that. Edit. I'm highlighting the passion and storytelling she communicated in her post. I don't need an education on gender roles or female attraction. Boy, do I have some news for you. Would you like to have a seat? The first time I had sex with someone who was involved in kink. She was my first hookup after my breakup with my fiancé, and she had, as I later found out, had a crush on me for some time and was happy to see me post on the hookup app we had in college. I had been interested in some kink for a while, but with my ex-fiancé it had never panned out. Neither of us really knew what the hell we were doing, and we gave up after an awkward incident involving ropes. Now, jump forward to this hookup. She was just excited to have someone she could trust to guide, so she, a sub, played her part very well and enabled me to be her dom for a few sessions while I learned the ropes. LD. That said, this did open me up to the fact that I am, in fact, a sub, but the thrill of the dynamic, the experimentation and learning involved, and the general roleplay of everything made the whole short-lived FWB situation absolutely mind-blowing. One of my long-term girlfriends was a squirter, only she wasn't aware until our relationship. The first time it happened she was mortified. Admittedly, I was quite entertained. Eventually she got more warmed up to the experience. After it happening several times, during our sex she would have multiple orgasms. When it got to the point where she would squirt, her orgasms would leave her physically shaking and she would writhe with pleasure and overstimulation for the next 15 minutes or so. Good times. Teach me. I think each person has their thing that really gets them off and pushes them to that point. For women who can squirt, for her it was burying my face in her ass like a dog does a bone in the yard while rubbing her G-spot as she laid on her stomach. She called it her favorite thing. Sigh. Unzips. I mean, at the risk of being a bit boring, all of them have been with my husband. I had 3 sexual partners before him, and all of them frankly sucked. Granted, one of them was physically abusive, which definitely put me off sex for a bit, but I've also never been very sexual and didn't feel comfortable with my, now, husband either at the beginning of their relationship, but over the course of our 7 years together, we've both had the opportunity to explore our mutual boundaries, try new things, experiment and get to know ourselves. My husband is especially good at advancing the situation when I'm in the mood to be worked up to more experimental experiences. We have a whole box of toys and accessories, blindfolds, ropes, etc., that we play with fairly often. Some of the most electrifying experiences have involved him doing anal and me playing with some other sort of toy, either with penetration or vibration up front. But by the same token, I've been equally turned on by super vanilla sex with him. Ultimately, I think, it comes down to the heat of closeness, just both wanting each other to the same degree. When both of us are extremely turned on, we make music together. Slappy, slippery, jiggly music, but music all the same. Had sex with a fireman in his fire truck, then on his boss's desk. That was super hot. If you are enjoying the video, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of my new videos. Did he put out the fire extinguisher? guy I had met on Gone Wild Audio opened my eyes up to the fact that I was a full-blown humiliation degradation kink sub and wasted no time proving himself to be an amazing dom with an incredible intelligence for finding all of my weakness and insecurities and making that part of our play, but always bringing me back up and doing appropriate aftercare. We met in person a couple of times and he drove me into an absolute rabbit frenzy. Never met anyone else who could touch me like that or do the things he did or say the things he said off the cuff. I still have a deep set attraction to him. He didn't have the traditional looks that most people seem biologically drawn to, and I'll be honest that he wasn't the largest of my partners, but I'd do anything for him. He literally became my living god. It was that intense for me. I'm sure it sounds pretty standard to the random observer, but the best sex I ever had was on a regular night with my boyfriend after getting a little high. I'm a sexual assault survivor and have a hard time letting go enough to really enjoy myself during sex, and I've found cannabis to be very helpful in both restoring my libido and increasing pleasure. On this particular night I was feeling uncharacteristically confident. I rode my boyfriend until he came inside me. He had my consent to do so, of course, I'm super into that. And then he had me lie down with my eyes closed while he played with me with a riding crop. After about 20 minutes of teasing, he fingered me to orgasm. It was so intense that I could barely move or speak for about 10 minutes. He has magic fingers. Removed. So that's where all the women my age have gone. Once they hit 30s they will come back for you, just wait till then. From Secret Sub 1996, my public Valentine's Day threesome. I've been exploring my submissive side with an older dominant guy for the past 2 years. I was very inexperienced when we started, but he's shown me quite a lot and helped me push my limits. But one evening was by far the most exciting thing I've done. About 6 months ago I decided that I want to have a girl for the first time. I'm too shy to do anything on my own, so I ask my dom if he can bring a girl into the bedroom. He has several subs and takes photos of them in robes, so I was able to pick the one I was most attracted to. Let's call her Jay. This was right around Valentine's Day and he decided it would be fun if he took us both out on a date for V-Day. He said he would plan a very interesting evening. First off, the girl I wanted wasn't even currently in our city, so he flew her in. He also rented a huge beautiful suite in a very fancy Victorian hotel in London. We met Jay in the lobby bar for a drink and so she can drop her bags in the room. She is very pretty and I was so nervous knowing what is going to happen later. He asked us both to wear collars, so the three of us are getting looks from the hotel staff, which turns me on even more. They had to know what was happening. We then leave for our next stop, lingerie shopping. I wasn't sure where we would go, but he takes us to Agent Provocateur, which is literally my favorite lingerie in the world and super expensive. We go in and have a shopping spree out of a movie. This is late on a Friday night before closing, so we have the store to ourselves. 3 shop girls are waiting on us hand and foot, and we are peeking into each other's dressing rooms and seeing each other practically naked when we just met. We are laughing and have a great time while our dom is just watching us smiling. We pick out our lingerie and he pays for it all without even blinking. Now we head to dinner and are walking through London. An older guy in a suit locked arms with 2 pretty young girls wearing collars holding giant Agent Provocateur bags. Again getting more looks and getting more turned on. Dinner was pretty uneventful and next we head back to the hotel for one last drink before having sex with a girl for the first time. The hotel bar was in a beautiful converted chapel. We aren't talking about sex at all. It's just a normal fun date. But I'm starting to get butterflies knowing what's about to happen. We finally go up to the room and put on our lingerie. He's also a photographer, so he has us do a photo shoot. The lingerie is so beautiful and Jay looks so hot in it. We start out standing next to each other, but he makes us pose closer and closer. Then he starts giving us orders. This I'm used to and enjoy obeying. He asks me to touch her arm, then for her to run her hands down my back, then to brush my hand down her cheek. This goes back and forth, and then he asks me to kiss her hand, then neck, and then for her to kiss my collarbone, then chest, then tummy, pelvis and inner thigh. It was the biggest slow tease, and when finally she went down on me it was amazing. From there it progressed into a very intense threesome. He has tons of toys and knows both of our bodies very well, so we came so much I lost count. My favorite is when he had her on top of me, face to face, while he had a wand vibrator between our clits and took turns penetrating us. We all passed out on the huge bed together. We woke up and played some more before going to get breakfast. Then she flew back home and never spoke to her again. I've done a lot of new and exciting stuff the past 2 years, but that takes the cake. Oh, and he put the whole evening up to the sex on his Instagram story and got to see the comments of all the envious women. I really felt like a princess that night. A very dirty princess. A photo from the evening, right before things got interesting. Imga, the magic of the internet web page. OP was probably looking for straight women, but fuck it, I'm a woman. I had met a girl when I was with my first GF, and broke it off with her for the new girl. She was beautiful. She had dark hair that reached her shoulders, an incredibly endearing smile. The tension had built between us for 3 months, and as soon as I left my first GF we just let everything loose. We were both pretty young, her 19 and me 24. She was a virgin when we met, and I remember the first time I was with her. She was so turned on she was literally shaking. I slowly undressed HR while we furiously made out. She was such a good kisser, and she had the most beautiful breasts. I vividly remember the image of her when she was finally completely naked, looking at me with both nervousness and intense arousal. I kissed her and asked HR if it was okay I touched her, and she just nodded wordlessly. And the sound she made when I first slipped a finger inside her, goddamn. I miss having sex with her so much. It was really fulfilling. Sexually and emotionally, so passionate and always good. I don't really miss her as a person, but I hope she's okay. We had a really good year together. A couple of years ago I went to a club with a group of friends. At around midnight or so the club started giving long balloons to everybody, and my group and I started doing limbo, and a bunch of people started joining. A couple of foreigners came by, and one of them handed me his beer while he limboed. He was tall, blonde, and even through his clothes I noticed that he had an amazing body. When he was done with the limbo I gave his beer back with a smile. He smiled back and we started dancing. The music playing was reggaeton, and for anyone that doesn't know how to dance it, it's pretty sexual, much like grinding crotches to the rhythm of the music. He told me he was from Ireland, and he wasn't all that good at dancing, so I grabbed him by the waist and made him follow the rhythm of my hips. Then he suddenly grabbed me by the butt and lifted me from the floor. I was pleasantly surprised, and I grabbed onto his shoulders. At this point I could feel the muscles of his back and it was amazing. We started making out while he was carrying me, and it has been the best kiss I've had, period. We danced, made out, and felt each other through our clothes for the rest of the night. We didn't have sex, but it has been my most enjoyable experience so far. I'm very into bondage torture, and I was once part of an orgy where all of the other girls had me tied down as they took turns sitting on my face while another one was whipping my pussy. This went on for a couple hours and then they put a Hitachi Vib on my clit and left me there to orgasm uncontrollably for almost an hour. Hottest thing I've ever been a part of. The first time I ever had 2 boys at a time nipple fuck me, one in each breast. I had my head slammed against the backboard of the bed like 3 fucking times. LMAO. Backstory for those confused, boys can literally push their penis into my nipple, like roughly a pointer finger's worth of length into my breast, and basically have sex with my boob. I've been told it's called a nipple fuck in anime videos or something, but it's not really a thing even women with large breasts should be capable of doing. It's like a quirk of my breast augmentations, at least according to my plastic surgeon. And no, I am not kidding, here's about half my pointer finger inside of my breast. Imga webpage. Oh, that killed me. I hope this thread doesn't get popular so no one else has to read this, but thank you for sharing. And you even provided pics, which is good because I couldn't even picture it in my head. What a wonderful world we live in. I have a sneaking suspicion that most of these comments are just going to be dude sex fantasies. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like and hit the bell for more videos. Comment your views.